Hello and welcome to Dubai Trains and welcome to another layout design video. And today we're going to go over the Etowah sub set in Tennessee, USA in the modern era. So we're looking at a space that's 4.5 meters by 2.7 meters. It's set in a garage, and this is a twice around the room setup. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Now, this is not really a proto freelance layout. It's more of a proto inspired layout with certain references to actual existing places in the real world. So layout, as you see, is a square. There's a wall up north, and there's a lift gate right here. So all the track going onto the lift gate is straight, just to prevent derailments. There is some access here on the right because there's a garage door, but it's more of an emergency access, or if you need to do some scenery here at the back of the layout. So the track plan is a twice around the room. So let's talk a bit about the advantages and disadvantages of that. And let's start here at the schematic here in the bottom. So we're heading from Knoxville here on the main line, southbound in that direction. And the first place we're going to come across is Vonore. And then after that, we continue on the main line to Etowah Yard. And this is an interchange with the NS and the CSX, which is in this direction towards staging. The main line itself continues but off layout, but the line actually does split and go here to Calhoun, after which it continues as well southbound to staging. And this is quite a run, as you see, for the space available, and that is the first positive upside of doing it twice around the room, is you have a long run. So let's start here at A1, staging, that's just off track right here, and then we first head in this direction to Vonore, and then we have a diamond crossing right there with the other main line. And that's the first downside, is that this seemingly continuous line crosses itself because it folds over itself. And for some folks, yeah, that's just a compromise, a realism that they are not willing to take. And then let's continue. And then this track on the inner side actually bypasses the yard and then arrives at this section right here. So then we are right here on the line diagram. So we can go towards staging right here, A2. The main line actually heads off layout right here, possible future expansion, who knows. And then we continue the line up here to Calhoun, and that's where we're going right in there. And then Calhoun is here on the inner side of the benchwork of the layout. And that's the second downside, is that you have two locations, Vonore and Calhoun, next to each other, which are actually in real life separated by many, many miles. But the positive side is, as you see, is that we have a very long run, because from Calhoun we continue onto staging. So we can continue the run here on the bridge, over the diamond, and then into staging. And then of course there's the entire staging behind this schematic that adds to the run if you wanted. So that are a bit the positives and negatives that you have. So let's have a look at the layout in more detail. Here we go. Let's start with the yard. That's what most people always want to see. And this, we come in from the yard here on the left. And like I said, the inner track right here is basically a bypass of the entire yard. The Etowah yard in real life has a similar kind of setup, not exactly the same. And here we have a small section of double track with, this is basically the yard lead, which does really have to be long enough, otherwise you're going to foul this whole section right here, which for operation sessions isn't very realistic. And I put a little engine escape here, and why did I do that? Normally I don't really put that there, because as you see, it's quite a condensed layout, and you can run quite a lot of trains on this layout. You have eastbound trains, you have southbound trains, you have other ones going here to the interchange. So there's a lot happening in the yard. So I really want to have the option to get this engine out of the way. Of course, there's an engine terminal, a small terminal here on this side, but I want to get it here out of the way as well, because this layout can be run with 3 people. So here is the modern CSX Leghorn, I believe, depot. And then here we have the old L&N depot. These are both present in real life. Have a look on Google Satellites if you want to see what it looks like. And I represented them here, together with the car park and the sub-building right there. This whole section is part of the old L&N depot. Then here we have the back of some industries against the backdrop, some vacant lot. Industry right here does not exist in real life, but we do want to add some switching slowly to this section, so that is there. And then, like I said, there's this engine depot here, which is not there in the prototype, but it really adds to operations to be able to switch the industries from this yard right here. There's even a small maintenance shed right here, a little yard office right there. Now this design was made in AnyRail 6, and you can actually buy this AnyRail file and actually all the other files from the other layout designs that I've done on my Patreon page. So have a look there. The link is in the description down below. So if we go southbound to Calhoun, that is everything here on this section. And this is meant to be a bit of an older part of the line. So you'll see the track has a lot of curves in it. We have a small messy scrapyard over here that's been there forever. We have a transfer track right here, gas distributor right here. They've all been there for a long time. And the gas distributor is nice because it brings LNG cars to the layout. And a transfer yard can bring any car to the layout. So that's why I use these a lot. And this is also very prototypical for modern day operations. So as you see, we have a 1, 2 coming from the yard, trailing spurs, and 1 facing spur. And here, scenery-wise, we have this creek water feature with some bushes, just basically to separate these two scenes visually a little bit. And then that line from Calhoun heads down here into staging. And then we have 5 double-ended staging tracks and 2 single-ended staging tracks. So we had a lot of, well, not debate, but discussion, because the client originally wanted an intermodal yard on the layout. I said, yeah, we can do that, but it's going to really dominate a big part of the layout. And what are we really going to do with those intermodal trains, right? Operation-wise, there's not that much that comes with that. So what I can do is add 2 long tracks in the staging where you can park this intermodal train, and it can just do some laps every now and then when you feel like rail fanning or just, want to see a large intermodal train pass by. I mean, it is a beautiful sight. We have one more track here, the programming track. Now, as you see, this is quite spaciously set up. I do that often on purpose because, as we all know with our layouts, we have a lot of stuff laying around, from cleaning devices to anything, and spare engines, broken engines, projects you're working on. So there's plenty of space here on the benchwork to put that. And or you can also expand easily to add some more staging tracks if you wish to do that later on. So going back to the yard, now let's head northbound to Knoxville, and we hit Vonore, and it has its own passing siding right here. We'll look at that later in the schematic. It's quite useful, not only to switch this section, and this is envisioned to be a modern style industrial area. So the buildings are mostly parallel to each other. They're big, they're spacious, they're boring, but there is a lot to switch. Now, if you look in the area, if you're a little bit familiar with Vonore, there is a very large, I think, a Etowah hardware store distribution center. So that could be a nice feature to model if you're into that. So continuing, we have the biggest scenic element on the layout, and that is this series of girders and truss bridges that the train goes over. And then we have 2 layers of one in the back and a completely girded bridge here in the front, and a nice wide river scene. So remember the garage doors here on the right. So you're always going to be viewing this from the left side. And it's at the end of the layout, which I think will really make for a nice scene. And this is also a great use of the space because it's a bit short to really add any industries or something like that. I mean, you could if you wanted, but this bridge scene fits nicely. And I think it will do the space justice. It's filled in with some larger hills on this side. And then here crossing the bridge, we go straight into staging yet again. So how would you operate this layout? We have a lot of northbound traffic coming from the staging here, and a lot of southbound traffic coming from the staging here. Then, of course, we have this A2 track that is for the interchange. So we have trains arriving and departing in this direction. And these all deposit cars at the yard where the local resident switcher can go and switch the various industries that we have. Now you could switch it up a little bit as well, where the southbound train coming from this direction would pass the diamond, go all the way just past Calhoun, past Etowah Yard, over the diamond, and then here in Vonore switch these industries. And this is only for the southbound train to do, as then they will be trailing industries. And otherwise, you would have to do a runaround, which, from what I understand, is not very prototypical for mainline traffic to do. And then you would continue here onto staging. And that would leave Calhoun and the industries right here for the local switcher to switch. Of course, they can still go to Vonore and switch some other industries as well. Now you can buy this design on my Patreon with the AnyRail file and all the accompanying information regarding the design. Have a look on my Patreon. The link is in the description down below. That's it for today. Bye bye.